Hello, this is Jordan with Andalusia Knits, and today I've got a video for you where I am going to go through some of my plans and goals for my knitting and crafting in 2026. And so to do this, I have the last couple weeks I've been thinking about some of the things that I would like to try, or some of the projects I'd like to knit in the new year. And I've come up with kind of like this scattershot list of 9 things, and there's no really guarantee that I'm gonna hit all of these. And if I was gonna guarantee anything, I would almost certainly guarantee the opposite, and that I'm not gonna hit all of these. But I wanted to create sort of a bigger list for myself this year because it's something I don't normally do, and I found that when I only have 1 or 2 goals in mind, I get bored of those pretty quickly and ignore them, and then feel bad that I'm not making any sort of progress with my crafting. And so my thought is, if I do way more goals and ideas that I'm gonna have time for in the new year, like when I get sick of one, when I'm working towards one and I get burned out on it, there's gonna be another one that's I'm gonna be able to pick up and take its place. And so while, the total number of goals getting completed might not be as much as if I did it some other way, with this way, at least it's going to feel more, hopefully, it's going to feel more like I am constantly making progress. I'm moving towards some goal. It's not necessarily, I don't know exactly what goal it's going to be, but with a list of a bunch of stuff, like I said, I'm inevitably going to get sick of working towards these goals. And so I want to have more than enough so that there's always something to take a goal's place once I get tired of it. And then eventually I'll get tired of that new goal, and I'll come back and I'll work more on whatever, a project that I had put aside for a while. But yeah, like I said, I wanted a bunch of stuff mostly so that I could, I'm going to get burned out. That's going to happen, especially goals that are going to take months or a year to complete. I'm absolutely going to get sick of them at some point. And so I just want something to take their place when I get sick of them, until I'm no longer sick of them and I can pick them back up. So anyways, I said all that just to say that I'm going to go through this list now. I've got a little knitting project. I don't know if I've ever actually knit on camera before, but I thought I would do it today and finally reveal my sort of weird knitting technique that I do. I don't see a lot of people knitting exactly like I do. I'm kind of scared to show y'all, but hopefully there are some knitting weirdos out there like me that will feel seen and heard once you see how I knit. So I'm just going to start with number 1 on the list and work my way down. And so let's get started. Alrighty, so goal number 1 on my list is to begin a long-term project of knitting a complete knitwear set for myself, designing a complete knitwear set. And I've talked about this goal, I think maybe once on a podcast episode before, but I haven't really done any thing to move towards that goal. So I thought it would be a good one to start with in the new year. And so basically what I am wanting to do is design a cohesive knitwear set. So a hat, something for your neck, like a scarf or a cowl, a sweater, gloves, and a pair of socks is what I have in mind right now. And I would like to make all of those things match and go together without them looking like a costume. And so I haven't really made much progress beyond that thought, because we're not sure what that is going to entail. So in the new year, I'm going to start that out. I don't necessarily want to finish this project within 2026, and I'm almost certainly I'm not going to be able to, even if I did want to. But it's more of a multi-year long-term project. I got this idea of doing a longer-term project. I'm sure she's not the only one, but Roxanne Richardson, she has done a couple multi-year projects. And seeing her work on those across multiple months and multiple years has really inspired me to give that a try. And so, like I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to get the whole thing done within a year, but that's fine. I want to at least get started with that. And the thing that scares me the most about doing this kind of stuff is that I'm not a particularly fashion savvy dude. I don't like, I can kind of like put stuff together, but I don't always feel confident in my ability to do that. It's I feel a lot of times like it ends up very matchy and costumey, or it ends up just so completely everything ends up so completely disconnected from everything else that it just like it looks like chaos and doesn't make any sense at all. And so it's the actual like construction of the garments and stuff that is not really the challenge with this. Like I've made hats before, I've made scarves before, done sweaters before. Actually, I've never done gloves. I guess that will be a challenge. I've never actually knit any sort of gloves or mittens, but everything else that I want to do for this knitwear set, I've done before. And so I really want to focus on like making the set look cohesive. I want someone to look at the whole like the whole shebang and be like, oh yeah, that was intentional. All of this stuff goes together. I want them to think that, but I don't want them to think, oh my god, well, why does everything the same color? Why is everything the exact same design? It looks so like matchy and weird. I'm trying to find that sweet spot of where like the design and everything like cohering together is intentional without being just too like overbearingly like meant for each other or whatever, however you want to say that. And so I don't know. Actually, I guess my first step in this is I'm gonna kind of sort of like start with the higher level stuff and work my way into the specifics. And I don't know if that is the best path to choose, but it's the path that it currently seems most logical to me and the one I'm going to go with. And so basically I want to start out with like, what sort of colors do I want to see in this set? And then what sort of like stitch patterns or color work designs do I want to see in this set? And once I kind of have those things decided, then once I have like a few maybe like color ideas and a few stitch pattern ideas, then I can start like playing with that, like plugging them in. Okay, I'm going to try this stitch pattern for the scarf, and I'm going to do this one for the hat, and it's like similar, but there's a variation or something. I don't know. So yeah, I'm going to start with the big questions, like what color should everything be, like what kind of stitches, what kind of stitch patterns do I want, and like move into the specifics of the garments themselves later on as I work through the process. And so at this point, that's all I've got for this goal. I feel very like unmoored, and like there are so many like different directions I could take it at this point. But hopefully I will be able to make some progress on that in the new year. Probably not going to finish it, like I said, but I would like to at least maybe get like 1 or 2 pieces done or something. I don't know. It feels kind of like tempting fate to be making plans for so far in the future. But yeah, if I could get like a couple, like a sweater and a scarf or something done this year, that would be enough of a win for me in terms of this particular goal. So yeah, that's goal number 1, is start some sort of knitwear set. Up next on the list is in 2026, I would like to knit more patterns by other designers. And this is something that a goal I set for myself pretty much every single year. And hopefully this will be the year that I actually follow through. So if you have watched my channel at all since I started posting in July, you know that I don't knit a ton of other patterns from people. Generally, I'm either like making the designs myself, or even if I'm not like, even if I don't have the intention of releasing a pattern for a design, most of the time I'm starting from scratch and coming up with the designs myself. And I don't necessarily want to stop doing that any more than I am. I enjoy like making my own stuff and coming up with my own ideas. But there is one downside to the majority of my knitting projects being that way. And that is the fact that it can be difficult sometimes if I'm in between ideas. There are times when I'm not like in the design mood. I just want to like sit down and knit on something and not have to like think about what I have to do next or anything. I just want to sit down and knit. And if I don't have a design already ready to go, like I can't just like sit down and knit, or if I do want to sit down and just sit down and knit, I'm having to do very like basic simple things like these socks. I knit a lot of socks for this very reason, is because that's just the simplest thing to like plug in when I have the desire to just like knit without having to think about anything. And while I don't hate knitting socks, I quite enjoy knitting socks and stuff like that. These little simple projects. I like to do some more stuff besides just basic socks when I have that desire, and that's one of the easiest things to do is to just like buy a pattern where everyone or someone else has had all the thoughts for you, and you can just sit down and knit. And so actually, I've started that already. I've begun a sweater pattern for what's the word? I'm completely blanking on a Gansey. It's a Gansey design called Scottish Fleet, and I cannot remember the designer's name, but I'll put the link to the pattern in the description below. And it's been very nice to like not have to like think about like, okay, worrying about like doing gauge math and making sure that my gauge is going to get me the sweater size I need. I'm putting a lot of faith in this designer, and I think it's good. Like the faith is well placed because the pattern doesn't have any like angry comments or anything on it on Ravelry saying it's drastically wrong. But yeah, it's nice to just sort of like go on autopilot and just be told what to do when it comes to knitting, as opposed to trying to like think up what my next step is going to be. So that is my second goal for the year, and that is just to simply knit more patterns by other designers. I don't have like any specific like garments or projects in mind or any specific designs in mind, but I'd like to use the Ravelry search functions just a little bit more than I do right now in the new year. So that's number two coming, or I just talked about it. What number two? Goal number two: knitting more designs from other designers. There we go. All right. All right. So goal number three is probably the most embarrassing one on here because I consider myself like a pretty experienced knitter. Like there at this point, like there are like projects and things that I would avoid, but there's nothing that like scares me. I would avoid it because it sounds tedious, not because it sounds scary. But that being said, one of my goals for 2026 is to just learn some new common techniques, because like I'm not like exaggerating or being hyperbolic when I say I know how to cast on two ways and I know how to cast off two ways, and that's it. And it's mostly because for 99% of the knitting projects that you are going to encounter, those two cast on and cast off methods are more than you need. And just for reference, I can do the the easy sewn bind off and the regular bind off, and then the backwards loop cast on and the long tail cast on. And like I said, that's all I have needed so far. Like I have not encountered a project where those four techniques would not serve me well. But it would be nice to have others in my arsenal, just simply because I'm sure there are going to be there are absolutely times when those four would not work well, and I just haven't encountered them yet. And it would just be nice to like be able to like pick some techniques based on like what I want the garment to look like, or how I'm feeling that day or something. Like it's nice to have options other than this will work acceptably. Like I would love to have some other reasons for choosing a technique other than it'll get the job done. So I'm looking to learn some new like cast-ons and cast-offs, but then there are also just some other like knitting techniques that I have really just I've never touched. And it's mostly because I don't really have a desire to touch them, but it would be nice to at least get some experience. And specifically, I'm talking about cabling. Like I've done some like basic like twisted stitch stuff you've seen on the podcast before, but I've never done any sort of like full-blown cabling in any sort of project, big or small, anything like that. And it's like I said, it's mostly because it's just not super my personal style. Those like cables, like they look beautiful, like I love the decorative nature of them, but then I just like look at these like lovely cabled sweaters that people are wearing, and it's just those cables like jump out like it feels like 2 or 3 inches from the body, and it's like I've already got like enough bulk on me. I don't need to like add any more with like big fluffy ornamental cables or anything like that. But that is like that's a big sort of blind spot for me in terms of knitting. And I know like there are lots of other places to use cables besides sweaters. It's not like I have to knit a cabled sweater. I can do like other cabled things. Cabling is another like common technique that I would like to get some more experience with. And then beyond that, like I don't have any super specific techniques in mind. Just sort of like as I encounter things, like it'd be nice to just like maybe just like every project, like look up some new technique and use it on the project, even if there is a perfectly acceptable alternative that I already know. I think that's probably going to end up how this goal gets completed, and then maybe I might force myself to do some sort of like cable project. It's not gonna. I don't want to do a sweater, but I might do like I don't know. I'll have to think about it because I don't know. Yeah, like me and cables, we're not BFFs yet, but maybe we will be by the end of the year. So that is the next goal, and that is to just learn some more knitting techniques because I'm very bad about just learning a technique and then staying in my lane and never learning another technique because that one, gets the job done just fine. Next up on my list is goal number 4, and this is just a really stupid, boring one, but it's one probably that I am most like motivated to actually do, and that is to publish more knitting designs that I have created myself. And so I dipped my toes into that world in 2025. I've released two free patterns this year, the Octave Shawl and the Auger Cowl. And I will link those in the description below if anybody's interested in giving those a look. And that was great. Like my goal going into 2025, it was I didn't I just wanted to publish a single pattern, and so like have hit that goal and then some, so that's good. But in 2026 I kind of want to hit the ground running maybe a little bit more. I have like a couple hat patterns that I've been working on. You've seen the Ion Spark hat that I have been working on and had a test knit for this fall, and I'd like to get that one all prettied up and ready for release. And I've got some more ideas. It's such a process to do a pattern. And I'm really learning a lesson that a lot of people who start designing their own patterns learn. And that is, while the like knitting aspects of the pattern design process are very fun, the non-knitting aspects are not particularly fun. And I'm not even talking about the writing the pattern or the sizing, that sort of stuff. It's more like the technical stuff. I had so much trouble like figuring out how to get Microsoft Word to give me PDFs that would print clear, like PDF charts that would print clearly for that Octave Shawl pattern. I delayed releasing that for probably like a month because I just could not figure out how to get the tech side of stuff to work for me very well. And so now that that stuff is out of the way, thankfully, like I don't have, that's things that I don't have to like relearn how to do every single time. But really, yeah, it's still the hardest part of pattern writing is not like coming up with ideas or anything like that. It's the non-knitting parts of the process, and it's not like they're non-essential. Like you got to figure out how to format it right. You got to do the marketing right. There's all of these like things that are boring but essential, and that I really don't want to do. But as I have released a couple patterns now, a lot of the really big initial annoying hurdles are not seeming so daunting anymore, and so I'm ready to tackle the more like annoying, like minutia, detail oriented issues that come up in pattern writing. So yeah, not a very exciting goal, but it's definitely one that I am gonna work on and work towards. The one I'm most excited about, I think, is coming up with new knitting patterns myself in 2026. Okay, so next up on the list, this one is not the most like deep or awe-inspiring one, but it is a goal that I am really like feeling hard right now. And so for 2026, I want to get a head start on my holiday themed knits. And I'm not really talking about gift knitting. I've done pretty good with my gift knitting this year. Like haven't done a ton, but what I have done is it's all already done, or it's going to be done ahead of schedule. But I'm talking more specifically about like knitting Christmas themed items. And it's mostly because I've been watching Vlogmas and all of the lovely crafters on YouTube, and they're all pulling out their really fun, festive Christmas sweaters. And I would love one, but I know that even if I started on a Christmas sweater right now and knit exclusively on it, I probably would not have it finished by Christmas. And so it seems kind of pointless to start one right now. But in 2026, you better believe come like July or August, I'm going to be buying yarn and thinking about designs for a Christmas sweater so that I can have it ready when December rolls around again. And so, yeah, like I said, this is not a particularly like life-changing goal or anything, but I just love Christmas so much, and I don't have a ton of Christmas-themed knits, and I think it's most years it's an issue like this, like it just doesn't hit me to like knit those things until it's basically too late. And so I just want to like get that on the calendar. I'm very much every year I buy a new planner, and that is going to be the very first thing that I write on my calendar is in July. And those notes I'm going to put start thinking about Christmas sweaters, because I do not want to be caught empty-handed again next year. I will feel like the FOMO I feel now will only be intensified if I don't get my act together and get a Christmas sweater for myself by next year. So yeah, that's the next goal for 2026. Number 6 on my list. I hope this doesn't offend any of my knitting viewers I have, but I would like to sort of dip my toes into some crocheting. And I've done that in the past, sort of. I can do a crochet chain, like I've used that to do a provisional cast on before, but beyond that, like I've never really done anything. I kind of know I know like the basic steps of like every crochet stitch. You're like sticking the hook through a thing and wrapping the yarn and pulling it through, but like the number of times you stick it through and the number of times you're wrapping and pulling, it's always changing, it feels like, in crochet. And so like I know like the basic motions, but I don't like, I could like, if someone like put a gun to my head and was like, do a single crochet right now, like rest in peace me, I'm dead. I'm absolutely not going to be able to do that. So I would like to. I don't necessarily want to become like a full-time crocheter or anything like that. But at the very least, like I really do like a lot of the sort of embellishment crochet things that people will do with knitting, specifically like on knit blankets, where they will like the blanket will majority be knit, and then they'll do like a scalloped like crochet edge around the blanket or something. I'm not entirely sure like why it's the case, but from like looking at patterns and stuff, it seems like crochet is just better at like edging making like doing borders and stuff around projects. And I'm not entirely sure why, but hopefully I will learn a little bit about that in the new year. And I mean, like, it would be fun to try my hand at crochet. It's the only thing is that I'm very much, at least at this point in my crafting journey, I like knitting clothing and clothing accessories. And while it's possible, while there are some like really like fun, like new advanced stitch techniques for crochet that make really nice fabricy, clothing fabricy, drapey sort of fabrics, it's just like it can't hold a candle to the drape and stuff of a knitting fabric. And so like the things that I would want to make with crochet, it feels like the range of those things might be a little bit more limited. So I don't know like how deep down the crochet rabbit hole I want to go, but at the very least I want to be able to do like the like single, double, treble, all of the like basic crochet stitches, and I want to be able to like read my crocheting. That's the thing. As a knitter, crochet feels like almost impossibly hard, just simply due to the fact that with knitting, like all of the stitches I got to work are on the needles basically. And crochet, you have to like look at the fabric you've already created and like make a decision about where the hook should go. And I don't like picking up stitches with knitting, and crochet just feels like a constant stream of having to pick up stitches. Every time you want to crochet a stitch, you're having to pick up a stitch. And my knitting brain just really doesn't like that. And so I'd like to at least get comfortable with the basics of crochet. I'm in no rush, like I said, to like become a crochet master, but I would at least like to learn enough crochet that I can start using it decoratively in to as embellishments and stuff for my knitting projects. So if you see me around here with a hook in the new year, that is why. Okay, so the next goal on the list is another one like the holiday knits one. This one is very much FOMO based, and that is I would like to try my hand at felting. And if you're watching this in the future, that probably doesn't mean anything to you. But if you're watching this when I upload it, or near when I upload it, you almost certainly know that I want to try felting because I want to make those cute sailor slippers that everyone has been making on the internet recently. So there is a pattern for some felted striped slippers out there, and they look really adorable. And I'm particularly motivated to make them my first felting project because the other day, my boyfriend, who, while he's very supportive of me knitting, like, he's not a big knitwear guy himself. Like, it's not something that like he enjoys wear. He doesn't really care about fashion. He doesn't really care about like feeling cozy or anything like that. And I love him regardless, even with his personal failings like that. But yeah, so he's not really a big knitwear guy personally himself. But the other day we were just like flipping through YouTube, and on one of the videos that was suggested was like somebody that was had made a bunch of pairs of those sailor slippers, and he was like, he stopped on it and was like, "Ooh, those are nice. Could you make me a pair of those?" And immediately I was like, "Yes, please let me make you something. I would love to make you something," because it's such a rare opportunity that he actually wants something knit that I am always going to jump at the chance to knit him something. So we discussed some colors. I haven't bought any yarn yet, but I'm definitely going to be making him a pair of those sailor slippers. And that is going to be my first experience with felting. It's one of those things that like I could see like how that could be useful and how that could be fun, but I just don't have any like beyond those slippers. I don't have any projects off the top of my head that I'm like itching to felt. So I think I'm gonna like, dip my toes in the waters with the slipper project, and then sort of like do some research from there to see like what else are people felting, because the concept is very interesting. Because I like this idea of like taking this technique that normally as knitters we are going to all costs to try to avoid, our knitting from being felting, but then like doing that intentionally and how it can help reinforce and give structure to fabric that would otherwise be kind of floppy and loose and drapey. That sounds interesting. That sounds like a fun technique. It's just I just don't know enough about like the possibilities out there. So I'm gonna do the slipper project, and then go from there and see where the felting world takes me. Okay, so looks like I just got a couple more to discuss. And the next goal I have for 2026 is I want to publish more knitting tutorials on YouTube. And it's not because I am a knitting genius and I need to impart that genius to all you dum-dums. It's because the one video that I published so far it's not like blowing up, but it gets constant views. Like it's getting views every single day when not all of my videos are getting views every single day. And that is the tutorial I published for how to manage multiple balls of yarn when you're knitting in Tarsha without having to use bobbins or without having to do any sort of like untangling or anything like that. And yeah, it really like it started off slow, but it's just like it's like it just keeps getting steady views. So I think it's like it seems like it's helpful to people. And I have a couple other tutorial ideas in mind. I don't have a ton though, just simply because like are so many like knitting techniques and things where there are plenty of good tutorials already on YouTube. Like people doing tutorials better than I could do. Like I always like whenever I have an idea for a tutorial, my first act is to go to Roxanne Richardson's YouTube page and see if she has one. And if she does, like I just like drop the idea entirely because I'm not ever going to be able to compete with her ability to like clearly and plainly explain concepts. So I'm having some difficulties coming up with tutorials for like specific knitting techniques like the Intarsia one that I published, but I do have some ideas for tutorials about knitting projects. So for example, I've shown you a couple of knit blankets or knit pillows that I made in the last couple podcast episodes, and I've got one right here. So I would love to do a tutorial on how I constructed this, like seaming up everything, doing the button flap, and then also like my technique for like doing stripes that are interesting, that aren't just like all, the same width or whatever, but without having to like think or plan about like when to do the color changes. So I have a couple like more project-based tutorials in mind, but I would like to do some more research and see like what sort of like techniques I'm doing that I don't see a lot of people talking about on YouTube, and maybe doing some more technique-specific tutorials as well. But yeah, tutorials of some kind are definitely coming in 2026 for me. All right, we've made it to the end of the list. This is number 9. I've got one left. And also, I just realized, I don't know why, but I'm like 99% certain, like in one of these segments that I've recorded, y'all saw me like transfer a DPN by sticking it in my mouth, which is one of the weird things that I do. Is like move my DPNs via mouth. And so, like, apologies for that. I don't know why in the world I did that, but I don't know why I didn't like notice it as I was doing it. But I'm pretty sure, like, when I go back and look at these clips, there is going to be me with a DPN in my mouth. Anyways, goal number 9 I have for 2026 is I want to try a new method of spinning. And so in my podcast episodes, I have talked on a couple of them about my experiences with drop spindle spinning. And while it has been a lot of fun and a great entry into the world of spinning in general, like I'm running into a problem that is not a skill issue, it's a tool issue. And that issue is that I cannot draft my singles as thin as I want, because if I drafted them as thin as I wanted, the weight of the drop spindle itself would pull the singles apart. I can't, so I'm having to spin thicker yarn than I would prefer. I normally like to do a 3-ply, and with a drop spindle, I can really only get like a worsted weight is about the smallest I can get. A 3-ply I can get with the drop spindle, and it's like I said, I think it's because I just simply can't spin any thinner because the drop spindle will not allow me to. It's just going to break the yarn. The weight of the spindle will, and so I'm going to either have to move to a supported spindle where like the weight of the spindle is being borne by like the table or the bowl or whatever you're spinning it on, or I've also been thinking about getting an electric spinner. And while I would like a traditional spinning wheel, I am not, at this point in my life, I am not willing to pay the prices that they cost to get a good one, and I don't have the space for one. But those electric eel wheels that I see people talk about all the time, that it looks right up my alley and right up my price range. And so I might just like bite the bullet and get one of those, because while getting a supported spindle would fix the main issue that I have with the drop spindle, and that the weight of the spindle itself is interfering with my spinning, spindle spinning in general is not going to be nearly as fast as doing an electric spinner or a traditional wheel. And so I might just want to go ahead and just get the e-spinner. But at this point, I'm not ready to make the purchase yet. But it's definitely something I want to think about. And you know, like my birthday's in June, so maybe around June I might think about getting myself a nice little electric eel or something as a birthday present. But for now, like I'm fine. Like it's not the end of the world that I can't spin as thin as I want on the drop spindle. I can still create like really usable, great yarn. It's just like at this point, like I didn't know up until this point my skills with spinning were so like inconsistent that like it didn't pose a problem to me because I there were other things that were keeping me from like spinning like technical like drafting issues that were keeping me from spinning singles as thin as I wanted to. But now that I've overcome those problems, I still can't spin the singles as thin as I want, and I think it's just a matter of finding a tool that is going to be better suited for what I want to do. Alrighty, well, I think that is going to do it for this goals video. It's still a couple weeks until the new year, but I am anxious and antsy to hit the ground running right this very minute, but that's okay. I've still got some knitting stuff to finish up for 2025. And thanks for watching if you made it this far. And if you liked the video, then go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos from me, you can subscribe. I generally release videos about every other week at this point, but that might increase here in the new year. We'll have to see. But once again, I hope you're having a great day. I hope that you are enjoying the Christmas season and feeling very cozy and festive for this time of year. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye.